75 times 1. Well, any number times 1 is just that number, so our answer is 75. 27 plus 9 plus 9. So we need to add these three numbers together. And remember, with addition, order doesn't matter. So we could start by adding the two smaller numbers together, and 9 plus 9 is 18, and then we can add the larger number. 8 plus 7 is 15, so 1, 5. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4, so our answer is 45. Now, 45 divided by 5. Remember, division is the inverse of operation, so this question is really asking us, what times 5 is 45? You might know that 9 times 5 is 45, which means that 45 divided by 5 is 9, so our answer is 9. If you don't know your times tables, you can count up in steps of the divisor until you reach the dividend. So, counting in steps of 5, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and the ninth multiple of 5 is 45. 905 times 0. Any number times 0 is 0, so that's our answer. 5,480 minus 100. Our answer is 5,380. That's because we start with 4 hundreds, we're taking 100 away, so in our answer we have 3 hundreds, but all our other digits stay the same. So try to do questions like this mentally, but if you're not sure, you can always use column subtraction, making sure you've got the digits lined up on the right-hand side. 0 minus 0 is 0, 8 minus 0 is 8, 4 minus 1 is 3, 5 minus nothing is 5. 409 plus 87. We can set this out as a column addition, making sure we've got our digits lined up on the right-hand side so that our ones, tens and hundreds digits are in the right columns. Now, 9 plus 7 is 16, so 1, 6. 1 plus 0 plus 8 is 9, and 4 plus nothing is 4. So our answer is 496. 9 elevenths minus 3 elevenths. So, when we're adding or subtracting fractions, if the denominator is the same, we leave the denominator the same in our answer, and then we just have 9 minus 3, which is 6. So our answer is 6 elevenths. 6 times 6. Well, we should know our times tables, but if we don't, we can count up 6 steps of 6. We have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and the 6th multiple of 6 is 36. So that's our answer. 980 plus 50. We can set this out as a column addition, making sure our place values are lined up on the right-hand side. 0 plus 0 is 0, 8 plus 5 is 13, so 1, 3, and 1 plus 9 is 10. So our answer is 1030. 725 minus 88. We can set this out as a column subtraction. We've got our digits lined up on the right-hand side, so we've got our ones, tens and hundreds columns in the right place. Now, we can't do 5 minus 8, so we go to the left, one less, one in front. and 15 minus 8 is 7. Now we can't do 1 minus 8, so we go to the left, 1 less, 1 in front, and 11 minus 8 is 3, 6 minus nothing is 6, so our answer is 637. Now 1459 plus 1447. So we can set this out as a column addition. 9 plus 7 is 16, so 1, 6. 1 plus 5 plus 4 is 10, so 1, 0. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer is 2906. Now we have a 5 and then a little 2, which we read as 5 squared. And this little 2, this squared symbol, means multiply the number by itself. So 5 squared means 5 times 5. Now 5, 10, 15, 20, the fifth multiple of 5 is 25. So 5 times 5 is 25, which means that 5 squared is 25. Find 1/7 of 77. So to find a fraction of a number, we divide denominator, then times top. But here the numerator is 1, so all we need to do is divide 77 by the denominator. So 77 divided by 7, we can use the inverse to work it out. 10 times 7 is 70, and if we add another 7, 11 times 7 is 77, which means that 77 divided by 7 is 11, so our answer is 11. Now 5 times 4 times 2. So we could start with 5 times 4, which is 20, and then we take that 20 and multiply it by the other number in our question, so 20 times 2. That's 40 because 2 times 2 is 4, and then if we have one end 0 in the question, we need one end 0 in the answer. So 5 times 4 times 2 is 40. 24.1 times 10. So whenever we're multiplying or dividing a decimal by 10, 100 or 1,000, we always start in the same way. We write out the decimal, then we copy down the decimal point so that it's right underneath the decimal point in our number. Now we're multiplying here, so the number is going to get bigger, which means that the digits are going to move to the left. And we're multiplying by 10, which has 1 0, so the digits are moving 1 square to the left. So if we copy down this 2, 1 square to the left, do the same with this 4, and with this 1, we now have the decimal point on the end of our number. And if you have a decimal point on the end of a number, you have a whole number. So our answer is just 241. Now 92 divided by 8. Well, we know that 10 times 8 is 80, which means that 11 times 8 is 88. But if we add another 8, 12 times 8 is 96. So here we're going to have a remainder. The closest multiplication to 92, which is still less than 92, is 88, which is 11 times 8. But from 88, we need to add another 4 to get 92, to get to our dividend. So 92 divided by 8 is 11, because that's what we need to get to 88, and then remainder 4, because we need to add 4 more to get to our dividend. 10,981 minus 448. We can set this out as a column subtraction, making sure that we've got the digits lined up on the right hand side, because if we do that, then our ones, tens, hundreds, thousands and 10,000s columns will be in the right place. Now we work from right to left, but we can't do 1 minus 8. So we go to the left, 1 less, 1 in front, and 11 minus 8 is 3. 7 minus 4 is 3, 9 minus 4 is 5, 0 minus nothing is 0, and 1 minus nothing is 1. So our answer is 10,533. Now 2,074 times 4. So we can set this out as a column multiplication. 4 times 4 is 16. Now, before we do 7 times 4, we need a 0 in our second answer line because this 7 is in the tens place, so we need a 0 in our ones. And 7 times 4 is 28. Now, before we do 0 times 4, this 0 is in our hundreds place, which means we need 2 zeros in our tens and in our ones. And now 0 times 4 is 0. Now this 2 is in our thousands place, which means we need 3 zeros. We need zeros in our hundreds, tens and ones before we multiply the thousands. Now 2 times 4 is 8, and we can add up our answer lines to get our answer. We could also use short multiplication here. We work from right to left, so 4 times 4 is 16, but instead of writing that in our answer line, we need to write 16 as 1, 6. Now on to the next digit. 7 times 4 is 28, but now we need to add this 1 on top. So 7 times 4 is 28, plus 1 is 29, which we need to write 2, 9. Now 0 times 4 is 0, plus 2 is 2, and finally 2 times 4 is 8, so we get the same answer. That's 8,296. 9.4 minus 5.8. So we can set this out as a column subtraction, making sure that our decimal points are lined up. Now, so that we don't forget, let's copy down the decimal point into our answer straight away. So now we can subtract as we normally would. We can't do 4 minus 8, so we go to the left, 1 less, 1 in front. 14 minus 8 is 6, and 8 minus 5 is 3, so our answer is 3.6. 0.9 is what as a percentage? Well, this first digit after the decimal point is always our tenths digit, so this 9 stands for 9/10. But percent means per 100 or out of 100, so we need to find an equivalent fraction to 9/10 with a denominator of 100. To find equivalent fractions, we always use multiplication or division, and we can spot quite easily that 10 times 10 is 100. Now, what you do to the denominator, you need to do to the numerator as well, and 9 times 10 is 90. So 9/10 or 0.9 is equivalent to 90 hundredths, which means it's equivalent to 90%. And really important here, you just write 90%. You don't write 90 over 100% because the percent already tells you over 100. Our answer is just 90. 5.17 times 9. So we can set this out as a column multiplication. And we have the number with the most digits on the top. So here, it's not the larger number on top because 9 is larger than 5.17, but because 5.17 has 3 digits, that's what goes on top. So now we copy down the decimal point into our answer, and then we can just multiply as we normally would if we had 517 times 9. So 7 times 9 is 63. This digit next is the second digit from the right, so we need a 0, and 1 times 9 is 9. Now this 5 digit is the third digit from the right, so we need 2 zeros, and 5 times 9 is 45. Now we add up our answer lines. 3 plus 0 plus 0 is 3. 9 plus 6 plus 0 is 15, so 1, 5. 1 plus 5 is 6, and nothing plus 4 is 4. Now we could also use short multiplication for this, and again it's the number with the most digits on top, and if there's a decimal point in the question, we copy down the decimal point into our answer. Now 7 times 9 is 63, so 6, 3. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 6, 9 plus 6 is 15, so 1, 5. And 5 times 9 is 45, plus 1 is 46. So our answer is 46.53. Now 400 times 4. So when we've got multiplications that end in zeros, we don't need to use column method. We can use mental methods to get our answer, because we know that 4 times 4 is 16, which means that 400 times 40 is 16,000. That's because 4 times 4 is 16, but then if we have a total of 1, 2, 3 zeros in our multiplication question, we need 3 end zeros in our answer. So 400 times 40 is 16,000. 0.4 is what over 100. Now the first digit after the decimal point is our tenths digit, so this 4 stands for 4/10. But we need to work out what that is over 100, so we need to find an equivalent fraction. We find equivalent fractions using multiplication or division, and we can spot that 10 times 10 is 100, and what we do to the denominator, we need to do to the numerator as well. So 4 times 10 is 40, so our answer is 40 over 100. Now 3.7 divided by 100. So whenever we're multiplying or dividing a decimal by 10, 100 or 1,000, we always start in the same way. We write out our decimal and then we copy down the decimal point. Now here we're dividing, which means the number is getting smaller, so the digits must move to the right. And we're dividing by 100, which has 2 zeros, so the digits move 2 squares to the right. So we can copy this 7 down, 1, 2 squares to the right, and do the same with this 3. But now we've got empty squares either side of the decimal point. And if a place value column is empty, we need to write in zeros. So we need a 0 in our tenths and always a 0 in our ones. So 3.7 divided by 100 is 0.037. So the steps are: write the number out. If you're dividing, digits move to the right. Dividing by 100, there's 2 zeros, so digits move 2 squares to the right, and fill in empty squares with zeros. 529 times 43. So we're multiplying by a 2-digit number, which means we'll need 2 answer lines. First, we'll multiply 529 by the 3 in our ones. Then, for our second answer line, we'll multiply 529 by our 4 tens. Then finally, we can add up our answer lines. So, we start with 9 times 3, which is 27. So that's 2, 7. Now, 2 times 3 is 6, but we need to add the 2 that's above. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Now, 5 times 3 is 15. Now that's a 2-digit number, but because we don't have any more digits to multiply by, we can just write 5 times 3 is 15 in our answer line. Now, it's really important that we remember to cross out our working above, because now we're going to multiply by the 4 in our tens. But because it's in our tens place, we always need a 0 in the ones of our second answer line. Now, 9 times 4 is 36, so 3, 6. On to our next digit. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11, so 1, 1. And then, finally, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 1 is 21. So now we can add up our answer lines. 7 plus 0 is 7. 8 plus 6 is 14, so 1, 4. 1 plus 5 plus 1 is 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. And nothing plus 2 is 2. So our answer is 22,747. 1/4 plus 1/8. So we're adding fractions, but we need to be careful here because our denominators are not the same. And to add or subtract fractions, we need the denominators to be the same. So we need to find an equivalent fraction to 1/4, which has a denominator of 8. 8 is in the 4 times table, so we change 1/4 into eighths. Now, to find equivalent fractions, we always use multiplication or division, and we can see that 4 times 2 is 8, and what we do to the denominator, we need to do to the numerator as well. So 1 times 2 is 2. Now, we can rewrite our question. Instead of 1/4 plus 1/8, we can write 2/8 plus 1/8, because 2/8, as we've seen here, is the same as 1/4. So now we're adding fractions with a common denominator. So we keep the denominator the same in our answer, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So our answer is 3/8. 5.3 plus 1.95. So we're adding decimals, and we need to be really careful here. We're adding 5.3 and 1.95, but when we write this out, we need to make sure that our decimal points are lined up, because that means our ones, our tenths, and our hundredths columns will be lined up as well. So now we can write zeros in empty squares, and so that we don't forget, let's copy down the decimal point into our answer straight away. Now we can just add as normal. So 0 plus 5 is 5, 3 plus 9 is 12, so 1, 2, and 1 plus 5 plus 1 is 7, so our answer is 7.25. Find 5/8 of 160. So to find a fraction of a number, we divide denominator, then times top. So we need to start with 160 divided by the denominator, so divided by 8. 160 divided by 8 is 20, and we can do this mentally because we know that 16 divided by 8 is 2, because 2 times 8 is 16, but then if we have one end zero in the dividend, we need one end zero in the quotient. So we've divided by the denominator, but now, because we have 5 in our numerator, we need to multiply that 20 by 5. Now 20 times 5 is 100, and again that's because 2 times 5 is 10, but then if we have one end zero in the question, we need one end zero in the answer. So 5/8 of 160 is 100. 2 3/8 times 5. So we're multiplying a mixed number by a whole number. And the way I like to do that is to multiply the whole number of part of the mixed number and the fraction separately. So we can work out 2 times 5, then work out 3/8 times 5, then add up our answers. So 2 times 5 is 10, and then we need to work out 3/8 times 5. Now when we're multiplying a fraction by a whole number, we only multiply the numerator and we leave the denominator the same. So 3 times 5 is 15 and the denominator stays 8. But we can't write 10 and 15/8 as our answer because we can't have an improper fraction in a mixed number. We can't have the fraction having a numerator which is larger than the denominator. So we need to change 15/8 into a mixed number. Remember, a fraction is really just a division, and 15 divided by 8 is 1, remainder 7. So 1 as our whole number and 7 as our numerator. That's because 1 times 8 is 8, but then we need to add 7 to get to 15. Now the denominator stays the same, so 15/8 as a mixed number is 1 7/8. So we multiplied 2 by 5 to get 10, we multiplied 3/8 by 5 to get 1 7/8. So now we can just add up our answers. So 10 plus 1 7/8 is 11 7/8. Now there is another way to multiply a mixed number by a whole number, and that's to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So as an improper fraction, 2 3/8 is 19/8. That's because to get the improper fraction, we multiply the whole number by the denominator, so 2 times 8 is 16, and then we add the numerator. So 2 times 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19, so that's our numerator, and the denominator stays the same. So now we can multiply 19/8 by 5. And so that we remember to only multiply the numerator by 5, some children like to write 5 as 5 over 1. Now we need to work out 19 times 5. So using column method, 9 times 5 is 45, 0 in our second answer line, 1 times 5 is 5, and add up our answers. Or using short multiplication, 9 times 5 is 45, so 4, 5. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So 19 times 5 is 95. The denominator stays the same because 8 times 1 is 8. So we could write 95 eighths as our answer because that's the same as 11 and 7 eighths. 95 divided by 8 is 11 remainder 7. That's because 11 times 8 is 88, and then we need 7 more to get to 95, and the denominator stays the same.